The way this figure is packaged, the box design overall, it kind of reminds me of a very nice box of mooncakes. Very nice. Hi and welcome back to Excurgane Blog and Photography. I'm Steven with a very interesting figure review for today. This is a 1x8 scale figure of Tokisaki Kurumi in Chinese dress from the series Dead Alive, a rather well-known and famous series. This figure is made by Apex Toys and she was released way back last year, I think November. And I have a full disclosure to make before I proceed with the review of this figure. So just a week or two after the release of this figure, Apex Toys actually reached out to me on Twitter offering to send me a copy of this figure for me to photograph it. I wasn't the only one who received this offer. From what I know, one of my friends, Gil XV Photography, he also received the same offer. And of course, both of us accepted it. For the case of my own, the timing was a bit bad in the sense that I was on vacation when I received the offer, and by the time I returned from my vacation, I fell ill. I was sick, right? I would continue to have issues after that at my workplace, being a bit overworked and exhausted because there is a staff shortage, too exhausted to do videos, too burnt out. Though I have already photographed her way back then, I have published her photo on my Twitter, on my Facebook and so on. So all that is left is with a review, which is what I'm getting into today. Back to this figure itself, she was selling for a recommended retail price of approximately 15,000 Japanese yen. Though nowadays you can get it for slightly less, this is not a difficult figure to find, not rare at all. And nowadays there are so many different Tokisaki Kurumi figures, so what makes this one stand out a bit more? Why would you want to get this one over the others? Or maybe just get both or more? Yeah, we shall find out right now. So the first thing that caught my attention was the packaging of the box, which I mentioned in the starting part of this video. It reminds me of mooncakes, our traditional Chinese mooncakes. Sometimes we buy them as gifts for people and they need to come in a very nice packaging. And the box design with this figure certainly reminded me of that. Alright, moving from the box, we go to the actual figure itself, the sculpt of the figure. Being a 1x8 scale figure, this is not a large figure by any means. She is actually slightly smaller than some 1x8 scales out there, but scales don't really mean anything in anime figures. I have came across 1x8s that are larger than 1x6s, yes. So unless they are made by the same company under the same product line, scales usually do not mean much in anime figures, other than to give you a rough idea about their size. The sculpt of this figure, her face, unmistakably Kurumi, exactly like what you see in the anime, and most importantly, exactly like what you saw in the official product photos. The same goes to every other part of the figure, from the torso to her arms and legs. Everything else is exactly like what you saw in the product photos, and this is very important because most of us, when we clicked the pre-order button online for a figure which we think we will like, we judge everything based on the official product photos, so you will want the actual product to resemble whatever you see on the internet. So no problems in that regard with this figure, like a 10 out of 10. But if you were to ask me, is this the most detailed Kurumi figure out there in the market out of a bazillion different Kurumi figures that has been made so far? No, definitely not. But you can compare her pretty much to, for example, those lower cost scale figures coming from Good Smile Company between the 11,000 to 13 or 14,000 yen price range. For example, Ram and Rem. Not too expensive, not too big or detailed, but at the same time you get a flawless sculpt and paint job and you get a number of accessories. I just used the word flawless because yes, I tried my very best to find problems, faults with the paint work. I can't find any. No smudges, no scratches, no paint bleeding on transfer, none of that sort. So the paint work here is perfect all around. And then we move on to the accessories. This is where I have a bit of problem with this figure, perhaps the only problem. So the paint work on the plate and the fruits and that one tree branch over there, flawless, no issues. But her right hand is supposed to hold on this small piece of fruit. I'm not sure what this fruit is. I suspect it is what we call the longan in Malaysia. I don't know what it's called in English. This fruit over here is supposed to go into her right hand between her fingers, something like this. But the hole in her finger, in her hand, is way too small. I had a lot of difficulty inserting the part into her hand. And despite multiple tries with utmost care, I was being very careful about it, I still nearly broke that part. So this is just bad product design in my opinion. What Apex should have done, my suggestion, is that they should make the hand removable at the wrist area over here. You permanently glue that fruit into a hand and then you give two separate hand parts, one with the fruit and one without. You remove it by the wrist area, like what Good Smile did with this figure of Ram, for example. So this is a better way to swap parts, to swap different parts. Yeah, you can add 500 yen to the price, no problem, but you give us an extra hand for us to swap out with or without that fruit she is holding. That would be a better product design and more durable. And then we move on to the final part of this figure, which is the base. Looks like a pair of tatami mats to me. At least you're getting something unique instead of some plain plastic disc. But at the same time, it looks like coasters to me. You know, the small mat you place a hot cup of green tea on. Yeah, so you just place the figure on the pillow and on the mat. There are no magnetic connection of any kind like some certain more expensive figures out there. No magnets here, but I guess that is fine. Well, now we know that this figure does not have any problems at all other than the design flaw in her hand. This is a good purchase no matter how you see it, and it depends on whether you like Tokisaki Kurumi, whether you like Chinese dress theme or not. Thank you very much for watching this review. If you do have any questions, not just about this figure, about any other figures in general, please do not hesitate to ask it in the comments below. I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much for watching and I shall see you guys again soon. Goodbye.